Hey y'all, welcome back to episode 2 of Earth and Ether podcast with me, Bree, CEO and founder of Herbal Everything's, a holistic wellness brand dedicated to helping you get back in tune with yourself by working with nature. So, today's episode, From Mind to Matter, is going to really be getting into the nuances of the fact that everything in this world, in this realm, everything in your body, everything in the physical realm, period, starts off in the mind, in the mental plane, in the spiritual plane. And yeah, so I'm just gonna be breaking that down and giving some actual examples so you can see that this is not woo woo like people like to call anything that they can't physically see. It's not a woo. It's not it's not even a theory at this point. Like this is just we're gonna be able to follow it through the examples as I talk through it, and you'll see like everything starts in your mind. So is my mic on? Okay, she's on. Great. Before I start, disclaimer: this is not medical advice. I am not a licensed medical practitioner, nor am I posing to be one. The information I am going to share in this podcast, the information presented in this podcast, is purely for informational purposes and is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. Get that out of the way. So, okay. So focus on conceptualizing how everything in this life starts in the mental spiritual plane. So before anything can manifest into the physical world, it first starts off in the mental spiritual plane, and then it becomes an emotion, and then that emotion becomes physical. So we could connect this to things that we experience in our bodies, especially if it's something chronic, something long term. We can connect this to our life situations like our job, our house, our living situation in general, anything we create. It always started off as a thought before it became physical. Um, I'm just checking my notes. I'm not going to take notes anymore. I'm just going to talk, but I already have them, so I'm going to use them today. Let me gather myself. Okay. So the 3 steps of manifestation: mental, spiritual, emotional, and then it becomes physical. The physical is the very last step of anything becoming real. It's the last step, not the first one. Yes, that is the only tangible one, but it's the last step. So let's focus on the mind first, right? So let's say that you want to become an engineer, right? Or you want to become an architect. You going to school and getting a degree in civil engineering or architecture is not being manifested because of the physical work that you're doing your homework, passing your tests, doing your experiments on labs or whatever. It's because you first ideated in your head, in the thought, in the mental plane, the spiritual plane, that I want to be an architect. That started off as a thought. That was a thought. And then that thought trickled down to become something else, but focus on the mental plane right now. So this book called I feel so unfocused right now. Like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I am not gonna take notes anymore because now I feel like I gotta stick to my notes instead of just freely talking. But um this book I read called The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, I want to say his name is. That book changed my life. I highly recommend everybody go read that book. That book changed my life. It really put words to some concepts that I was already starting to pull from myself, but I couldn't like organize them correctly, or like it put pieces together to concepts I was already starting to pull out from myself as far as like um the mind and the subconscious mind and the role of the subconscious mind in all of existence, all of creation. The subconscious mind is the source of all things, and that is why everybody has it. Everybody's subconscious mind is the same subconscious mind. Every single thing that is alive and exists in this planet has the exact same subconscious mind as everything else. The subconscious mind is the God mind. Now, everybody got different religious, spiritual beliefs, but at the end of the day, and that's another reason why I like that book, because I'm not a Bible thumper, but he does connect a lot of the concepts around the subconscious mind and conscious mind to different verses in the Bible. And again, I'm not a Bible thumper, but I like that book because it does tie it together if you are somebody that follows the Bible or you read it for whatever reason it may be. But at the end of the day, that subconscious mind is the God mind. The subconscious mind is what keeps you alive. That's what does your involuntary movements, your heart rate, your digestive processes, the things that you can't control, but these are the things that keep you alive. That's your subconscious controlling those things, right? Whereas your conscious mind, that is more so you as the person that you are currently experiencing life as. And that's kind of where those voluntary movements come in. Like I can think I want to lift my left arm and I just lifted my left arm. That's something I can control. And that parallels to the role between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind being the source of all things, that is where how we have our connection to source, to God, to the universe, whatever you personally, individually refer to it as. And with that being said, we can pull on an infinite amount of things and bring them into reality, right? So everybody has the same subconscious mind. Everybody's conscious mind, that's where the differences come in because that's shaped by your personal life experiences. So keeping that in mind, the book I just referred to gave a perfect example of what happens when an idea is accepted by the subconscious mind. So you can have all of these separate ideas. You can have all of these different ideas. I'm sure everybody can relate to the fact that every idea that you have, you're not necessarily going to act on or bring it to fruition, whether that's intentional or you wanted to, but you didn't, it didn't go through all the way. But every thought that you have is not going to end up manifesting into something physical. When the ones that did that because they made their way into your subconscious mind. And the book gave a perfect example of how to picture that, right? So he said, imagine your subconscious mind as being soil, like fertile soil. It's nutrient rich. It got the perfect structure. It's just soil, right? And all the ideas that you constantly have, think about them like seeds. So in this this part wasn't in the book. This is Bria talking right now. Imagine your conscious mind is a farmer, right? So now you have your subconscious mind as the soil. Your ideas are the seeds, and then you got your conscious mind as a farmer. So whatever thoughts you consistently having, and they end up getting into your subconscious mind. So the farmer stands in, again, the farmer wasn't part of the book, but the soil and the seeds were. The farmer example, that's Bria. I'm throwing not myself in there. When you have ideas, the farmer can come in and look at the seeds and be like, oh, this is going to sprout a weed that's going to destroy everything else in my garden. I don't want that in there. I'm going to take that out. This one is going to sprout into a plant that is going to attract a whole bunch of bugs that are going to eat the crops that I want to keep. I'm not going to plant that. I'm going to take that out, right? So the conscious mind can filter ideas and decide what ultimately gets to the subconscious mind. And the ones that do get to the subconscious mind, their seeds being planted into fertile soil, what's going to happen is going to take that seed and essentially activate it so that it begins to manifest into whatever plant that it is. And when it comes to your thoughts, yes, you have a filter with your conscious mind, but when it comes to repeated thoughts, the ones that you have over and over and over and over again, it's like whether it's a farmer there or not, it's like it's going to get thrown because if you keep throwing the same seeds, it's like obviously this is supposed to be here, so I'm not going to keep picking it out. And whatever your subconscious takes in and she accepts it, it's like, all right, bet we immediately putting this into fruition. We're going to get it started. So whatever thoughts you have, especially if they're consistent thoughts, they can become, well, they can start the process of manifesting. That's why it's important to watch your thoughts, especially the ones you think about consistently. But tying it back into the manifestation process, you have these seeds, which are your ideas, your thoughts. The conscious mind is like a farmer. We filtering out what we do want to plant, what we don't want to plant. And then the ones that do end up getting to the subconscious mind, the soil, they're just going to come to fruition and they start the process of manifesting, sprouting, growing into whatever plant that is supposed to be. Um, so now you have the idea is planted. It's in the subconscious mind. Subconscious mind is like, bet, we finna make this real, right? So once the idea is lodged into your subconscious mind, now the emotional charge comes. If you're looking at a garden example, this is where the nurturing aspect comes in. The water, the fertilizer, the ample water, the ample sunlight, the ample wind, that's all part of nurturing and nourishing that plant. Those are feminine traits. The feminine is typically associated with emotions. This is where the emotional charge comes in, right? If you're thinking about, did I say something about an architect? I think I did. If we're talking about a architect, the idea first popped up into your head, right? It's not going to immediately go from idea to action. What's going to happen in the middle? The emotion. You're going to think about, oh my gosh, this is what my life is going to look like every day once I do this, once I get this degree, once I'm doing what I love doing. You imagining yourself in that role, going to a job that you love every day. Now you're able to have the house or the apartment or whatever it is that you want because that job is providing that for you or paying that for you. But yeah, the emotional charge is what comes next. So that's what's going to fuel the action that then officially brings it from mental, spiritual to physical. So the emotions are the bridge between the spirit realm and the physical realm. The emotional charge behind the thoughts that you actually accept are what drive you to act on them. So again, if we're thinking about the architect example, you're not just gonna say I want to be an architect and then just sign up. Like, and if you do, that's probably not something that's gonna last because you don't actually. There's no emotional charge that's fueling you to keep going when things get difficult. But those feelings are what drive you to keep going. You imagine yourself in your dream life, basically, if that's what you want to do. When you're thinking about the garden example, again, once the seed has been planted, the subconscious mind has accepted, okay, bet we finna make this real. Now you add in the emotions. In this case would be the nurturing aspects, the nourishing aspects, the fertilizer, the water, the sunlight, the humidity when it comes to germination, all of that. That is what gives the charge basically to allow the action to follow. Um, and that's because emotions follow thoughts. I feel like I've just been talking and I feel like it's not connecting. But we're not gonna start over because this is real. So life don't have an edit button. So we gonna keep going. But okay, I said what? I said emotions follow thoughts. So that's something else to exemplify. Um, just like the architect example. We're just gonna stick with that. Once you think about it, what's the very next thing that happens? You start feeling. I got a better example. Let's say you get a new job and you figure out, they tell you it pay X amount of hour, right? You hop on your calculator. What's the very next thing that happens? You got these thoughts, okay, I'm gonna be getting $30 an hour. And now you calculating how much. What happens once you see that number pop up? What's the very next thing that follows? Feeling. You starting to feel, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be making this much. I'm gonna be able to do this. Or even if it's the bad one, oh my God, I'm gonna be making this much. I'm gonna have to do this. Like, either way, after a thought comes a feeling. Anything that you think about, especially if it's a consistent thought, after the thought comes a feeling. Emotions follow thoughts. So your thought comes, that's whatever you consciously created or whatever you grasp from whatever is around you. The thought comes. Certain ones, they just come, they go. Other ones, they stay. If it stays, now it's followed by emotion. So you have the thought that stays. The thought comes, now it's followed by a feeling. That feeling drives you to act. The action is what brings that thing into the physical realm. So again, we bring an architecture example up. The thought was, I want to be an architect. The emotions that follow, you seeing yourself in that position, you're going to a job that you love, you're building things that you love doing, you're using your creativity to design things. Your salary is whatever you want it to be. You're living in a house that you want because you have the salary that you want. You're driving a car that you want because you have the salary that you want. All of that is following that thought of, I want to be an architect. Now you get all these emotions that's charging that thought, and that drives you to act. So now what do? You will go online and look up schools that have architecture programs. You go online and you apply to some of those schools. You go online and you apply to some scholarships. If you working right before you start the school, you go to work and you put money up to put towards your tuition. That those emotions that followed that thought are now driving you to act. And that action is what brings the thoughts to the physical realm. You done did all this stuff. You applied. You got your scholarships. You found your school. You got your money put up from the job you had before you went to school. Now you're able to pay for school. You go. You do your homework. Again, that emotion is what's charging these actions. When things get hard, you're thinking about, again, that dream life, that dream position, whatever you want your life to look like, and how you see that architecture degree playing into that. That's what's fueling you and keeping you doing your homework, passing your midterms, all of that. And at the end of the day, you graduate, boom, you get you a job. Now you're architect. You just brought a thought to the physical world. That's how everything happens. It always starts as a thought. Everything you do starts as a thought. This podcast, I literally went on my bed and I was like, I went in chat. I said, chat, what would happen if I start a podcast? Like, would that benefit me at all? I'm not actually like, just let me like give me pros and cons. And I'm looking at everything and I'm like, this looks like something I need to do for various reasons. But it started as a thought. And then as I'm looking at the pros and the cons and what drew me to do this, I literally felt pure magnetism. I'm like, this is what's going to bring my community, my people directly to me, because I've been spending all this time the past I'm in my going on my 6th year in business. I spent the past 6 years speaking from a logical perspective, speaking about facts, speaking about information. The scientist in me was talking, but that gets tiring because it's like when you keep that in mind, on top of the way marketing works, marketing is so predatory. And I never like doing it because of that. It's so predatory. It's literally preying on people's insecurities. So I always struggle to do that. And a lot of my content would just turn into like information dumps. And I could tell like, it was helpful to certain people. But at the end of the day, it's like I started feeling like I was talking too much, but like I was lecturing, as opposed, I feel like I was talking to people as opposed to, like, cause I wasn't really getting the reactions that, the responses that I would have hoped for. Like I wasn't getting, people weren't commenting, asking questions. They weren't doing none of that. It was kind of like I felt like I had put myself into a box of like being a teacher, and instead of like a community, because of the way I was approaching things, I was speaking purely out my left brain, out that logical brain. So when I imagine myself doing this podcast and I'm like, no, I'm not going to hop on here and start talking about my products. We're going to start talking about the right brain. We're going to start talking out the right brain. I'm start talking about how I recognize that my emotions and my thoughts, how they manifested into my life, especially concerning the womb health concerns that I specifically was having, crazy cramps, irregular periods, all of that. Like I recently, within 2025 specifically, just connected all of that together, and that's how I've been able to remedy my issue. And I'm like, okay, we don't talk about that. Like, I'm not gonna get on here and start talking about products. Like, you can go through my page. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just didn't want to do that. Like, I got tired of marketing. Like, I just want to be able to share what I need to share and the right people gonna come to me. And it was like I literally felt that magnetism. Like I felt like a big dumbass magnet, and it was just like everything that I wanted was just drawn to me. I'm like, oh yes, this is what I need to do. The emotion, the feeling, that's what charged me to be like, okay, let's start thinking about a name. Let's start thinking about what exactly are we going to talk about. Let's plan out the first couple episodes. Let me look up what type of equipment I need. That's what made me do all of that, get all the actions and everything going with the emotional charge. I'm thinking about this is going to help me surround myself with the people I need to be surrounded by. This is going to help me with self-expression because that's the source of all of my issues, which I have alluded to in my social media content. I will be talking about it more in a future episode, but it's going to help me with self-expression. Um, it's going to help me practice being seen because I have a fear of being seen, which is crazy but I do. And all of these emotions, it was just like that's what drove me to be like, yeah, we're gonna do this because I wasn't planning to do it. I just was like on some like what if type shit. Like, what would happen if I do this? And then I saw all the pros and the cons, and I felt it was a magnetism that really was like, damn, that's what I need, and that's what drove me to start acting. And now here we are, recording podcasts. Like we here, and everything I said was gonna happen. Me drawing the exact people that need to be around me, all of that, it's gonna happen too. Like, but this started off as a thought. That's the purpose, the point of me saying all of this. This started off as a thought. Literally, just what if I started a podcast? How could that be beneficial to me? That's it started there, and now we're here. It physically became real. It manifested in the physical realm, but it started off as a thought. Everything that you do starts off as a thought. If you eating your food, you had to think. Well, sometimes that might be a physical, a hunger pain. But at the end of the day, that's because your brain registered, yo, my body said we hungry. So you gotta think about, okay, what we gonna eat? And then your body like, oh, that's gonna satisfy me. That's what's driving you to get up and go make that food. Everything starts off as a thought first. And then following the thought comes the emotion. The emotion charges the action, and the action actually brings it into the physical realm. Everything starts that way. And where we at? We still recording? Yes, we are. 23. Okay. Um, so yeah, that's just parallel. We're showing it the emotions bridge the physical world to the spiritual mental world. That's the charge and that's something I had already come to the conclusion of before. Like I be having a lot of I don't necessarily call them downloads. People be throwing that word around, but I be having downloads and it comes sometimes I see it outside of me first and then it resonates inside, but sometimes it comes from the inside first and then the literature comes out from the outside to confirm that because as within, so without, as above, so below. Like everything that's real and true, you're gonna be able to find it inside and out, above and below. Like everything is everywhere. That was one of those things. Damn, what was I just talking about? I was saying something about something came to me first about I forgot. It was gonna be a good point, so that sucks, but here we are. But one thing I do want to point out, two things I want to point out. One is that this path of manifestation directly follows the chakra system. So this is another. I'm not just talking on my neck, even though I just broke down everything. We can all see. Watch how you move. Everything that you do start off in your head. Like I got to go to work. That's a thought. And then emotions, whatever they positive or negative, emotions gonna follow that, and that's what's gonna charge your action. Um, and the action is gonna make it real. But these directly follow the chakra system. The first one, I am. That's the mental plane. I am. What's the second one? Sacral. I feel. That's the emotions. And then the very next one is the solar plexus. I do. I like to say I move, but I do. And then what happens after that is I love, the heart chakra. That's where everything manifests. That's the medium between the spiritual, which is up top, and the physical, which is below. But this exact manifestation pattern follows the chakra system. I am, I feel, I do, I love. And the I love, if you pay attention to everything you say after I love, it it always is being, and being is existence. I love being rich. I love being beautiful. I love being healthy. Like it all starts off as once after the love is the being. So that just goes to show that it's now in existence. But it had to go from I am to I feel to I do to I love. That's the same process. I am is the mental spiritual plane. I feel is the emotional plane. I do is the physical plane where the action takes place. And after you do that, it is. That's the heart chakra. I love. We're recording. Okay, that was the first thing that I wanted to get into. The second thing is the fact that as I stated before, everybody has the same subconscious. That's source, that's God, that's the universe. Um, and because of that, some of the things that you experience might not have necessarily come from you because everybody has the same subconscious mind. Um, this could be ancestral, this could be a circumstance that somebody before you was subject to, or I don't want to necessarily say somebody put something on you, but everything don't have to necessarily come from your conscious mind because everybody has the same subconscious mind. So it's different aspects to that, like how susceptible you are to other people's energy, what's just meant to be and what's not. But yeah, some things just it don't necessarily be from you. So you might not be able to identify um certain things why you're experiencing certain things, why you feel certain things, because it may not be yours. Everybody got the same, and that's also how people prayers to be answered because it's like you put something in, and again, once your subconscious mind accepts that, that's everybody's subconscious mind. So somebody you might say, I need $100, and it really you soak that in, or you trying to manifest $100, you soak it in, and somebody gets a hunch to send you $100. That's because you put it in the same source that they got. So it went in you, and it picked up over there. It's like just antennas and radios, and like everything's connected to everything else. So I just felt like that was important to know because certain stuff might not necessarily be from your own personal experience, but you're experiencing it because everybody got the same mind, subconscious mind. And it's just a lot of nuances to that though, because you got um, ancestral experiences, you got the concept of karma or physics for the people who don't, for every action there's equal opposite reaction. Like it's certain stuff is just, but it's there though. Um, but yeah, mind, spirit to emotion to physical. So connecting this to women's health because that is the focus for this year. I wanted to give a personal example, which I have alluded to in this video and on a couple of videos I posted on TikTok, Instagram. Um, is a personal example. So I about 6 months, the sixth period I had, I was 11. I don't know what happened. Well, it at the time I didn't know what happened, but I felt like I was dying. Like my cramps were so bad, like it was just bad. But overall, my experience with my period has been um, extremely painful cramps, dull, heavy ache, cycles irregular. Like I was saying on one of my videos, I would be going months without. I just wouldn't have a period sometimes, and um, I knew something was going on, but I didn't know what it was. But yeah, I would irregular cycles, crazy cramps. I'm throwing up. I'm shivering, but I'm sweating. I'm cold, but I was having cold sweats and hot shivers. All type of shit. Like all it was just all type of shit. And I did go. I went to one doctor. She told me to drink some water. After all of that, you hear all of that, you say, "Oh yeah, you need some water." She told me to drink some water. The other lady tried to hand me a pill that I wasn't gonna take. So I had to figure it out myself. But 2024 is when I really had my revelation. That well, that's not when I had the revelation. That was when I started realizing that all of that was happening because of stagnation at the physical level. 2025, into 2025, actually, I want to say October, November is when I came to the realization that the stagnation I was experiencing physically was because of emotional stagnation, because I don't express myself emotionally. And that stemmed from the fact that I have a tendency to over contain my thoughts. And the mental programming I adapted as a child, I thought I had to turn my mic off. The mental programming I adapted as a child in order to do what the child me felt like she needed to do to survive. I like I over contain my thoughts. I hold things too long, and that stifled my expression at the mental level first. So I stifled my expression at the mental level. And this happened at a very young age. So now I'm over containing my thoughts. I'm overthinking everything to the point where when that emotion tries to come up to charge an action, I'm pushing it down. I'm suppressing it. And now I'm not expressing my feelings. Now every time something comes up, I push it down. I don't feel safe crying in front of people. I don't feel safe telling people how I feel. Like all of this stuff was happening because at the mental level, I started over containing and overthinking, overanalyzing. Um, because that's what I at some point felt like I needed to do in order to analyze my surroundings to ensure that I was safe. Um, so the over containment at the mental level caused suppression emotionally, which then manifested physically. We just went through the process. It starts as a thought, emotional charge charges the action, and action makes it real. So if the thought is now being held instead of allowing to flow, or the thought is there, it's being held, and the emotions are trying to come up to charge it, but I'm pressing it down. Now there's a whole bunch of energy that's trying to go somewhere, but I'm not letting it. So it's just a bunch of fire that has nothing to burn. So um all of that energy from the emotions are now trapped in my body. And now that physically manifests as stagnation. And the stagnation is what was causing my period issues. Um, so once I came to that realization, I'm like, damn, I did really start off as a mental program that I just never addressed. That I've gone 25 years without addressing because I wasn't aware of it for 25 years. But like, it started off as a mental program. And once I started restoring that flow, that movement, because that's what it was for me. The stagnation started out mental, so I had to restore flow. Once I worked backwards though. I started the flow or restored the flow at the physical level, which has been helping my emotions move more, and that's been bringing a lot of insight to me mentally. And that at the mental level now, it's just a matter of rewiring my thought patterns, my habits. That mental programming is being rewired, but it started off mental, it became emotional, and then it became physical. And now I'm working backwards from the physical to the emotional to the mental. And I have been able to cramps, I barely feel them. Period. I think this month is gonna tell. I think I'm back at a consistent 28 days to the T. But I have been getting closer to 28 days. Throughout the month as I've been doing my different experimentations with working with my energy and redirecting it, correcting the flow of it through various means. Um, and then yeah, like this is the exact same thing that I will be doing with my clients when I open up consults in April. We work it from the bottom up though, as opposed to the top down, because it's hard to see um, if you cloud it, if you're in pain, I'll give myself as an example, you in pain, you can't even think because your body is hurting so much. You're not gonna be in the moment like, oh yeah, this happened because I don't express. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta clear out the clutter before you can get to that clarity. So that's why I started working backwards, and it wasn't even intentional. It just happened, and I just came to the realizations over time. Like, damn, all of this started because I don't express myself. It was so crazy, but That's what I'll be getting into with my clients though. Like we're gonna be working on the physical layer with various women's health concerns to support your wellness, support you learning yourself, your energy, your processing mechanisms. And then, you know, we work on physical level. If you choose to go forward to the emotional level, you can, and then you go to the mental level. So you really addressing it at the cause, at the root of it. So yeah, consults open in April, and the next episode will actually be getting into more of what I just got into as far as the energetic flow behind the manifestation process of things into reality, the mental, spiritual, emotional, physical. I'll be getting more into, I guess, tangible energetics, if that makes sense, as opposed to just talking about energy from a abstract standpoint. There's actual systems that back this up, and that's what I've been studying throughout the past couple of months. Actually, throughout the past year, and that is what has guided me through my own rebalancing journey, and that will be guiding me as I help guide others to learning themselves and their energy and their processing, to support their wellness goals. So, yeah, the next episode, the layered lens, we'll be talking about the different layers of, we're gonna call it tangible energetics that play into how your mental, emotional, and physical processing move. Uh, but yeah, so I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. And yes, consults are opening very soon. So make sure you sign up for my newsletter if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to my YouTube, and all of that so you know when everything opens. And yeah, I'll see y'all in 2 weeks.